historically pastors have been men, so they want to keep the tradition going. And on the other side, or at the same time, in the Bible, Paul writes some places that women should not talk in a public place and shall not be leaders. So my church, bishops in my church interpret these Bible passages to be part of the cultural setting that Paul was in. So I think they read the Bible differently. Son? I have children, I'm a mother, so it's of course being a good mother and being a good wife and being good to my family, which is most important, I think. And then in my work, I want to be a good pastor who seeks God and listen to Him, and who meet people, try to open up the church and help people live their faith with their goods and bads.
Gdyby wolą Jego Ojca, Stwórcy świata, Stwórcy człowieka, było, żeby te same funkcje pełniła kobieta i mężczyzna, to myślę, że nie stworzyłby dwóch płci. Dokonał podziału. To On sprawił, że kobieta jest rodzicielką.
I think it's much easier for me to be mother and pastor than it was for both men and women 20 years ago, because I think most people now understand that a pastor has a family and has to take care of them, and I cannot work 24 hours a day. I have to go home to my family. So I don't think it's hard. I think it works fine.
Czy wierni w Kościele otrzymaliby więcej, tak konkretnie stawiając temat, gdyby właśnie kobiety głosiły kazania? I teraz powiem coś bardzo dziwnego. Moim zdaniem nie.
I grew up in a church, so my parents took me to church when I was a little girl, and in my church there was a female pastor, and that was not very common at the time, 80s in Norway. So I think maybe she inspired me in some way, even though at that time I didn't think about becoming a pastor. I loved to study the Bible, and then I just continued to study the Bible, and then finally I think it just grew up in me, and I was working in a church and people telling me this could be a thing for you to become a pastor.
Jeden z głównych powodów mojego odejścia z Kościoła rzymskokatolickiego był bardzo silny patriarchalny system, w jakim ten Kościół jest osadzony. Nie czułam, żeby tam było miejsce dla mnie jako dla kobiety, która chce akceptować swoją seksualność, chce móc współstanowić coś we wspólnocie, w której jest, chce móc głośno się wyrażać. Absolutnie nie znalazłam na to miejsca.
Dlaczego mogą być kapłankami ze względu na tradycję Kościoła katolickiego.
I am thankful for all women who have lived before me and who have been pastors and have done the struggle to make it possible for me to be here, because I know I wouldn't become a pastor if I had a lot of resistance. So this is for people will write prayers on notes, and then they will put them up here. And tree is a theme this semester. We will talk about tree. Why God chose to send a son and not a daughter? Yeah, that's a question.
Już tym Bóg pokazał, dlaczego Jego Syn, Bóg, wybrał mężczyzn na apostołów i na tych, którzy mają sprawować na ołtarzu przestrzeń i moment życia, śmierci Jezusa.
Of course, it was easier for him to be independent and do all the things. But the interesting thing is that women in this period had a very bad position. Even though women were not respected, Jesus chose to have women in his among his friends.
Ja miałam możliwość stać na ołtarzu, być przy nich bardzo blisko, czytać słowo. To coraz pełniej rozumiałam. Tam jest ich miejsce, a moje tu, a dzieci rodzę ja. Zaczęłam dzielić, zaczęłam widzieć w tych różnicach to, co jest dla mnie, dla całego ludzkiego rodu po prostu dobre. Naprawdę.
Jako lesbijka, jak się czuję w kościele katolickim? No wiesz, no jak się można czuć? Niezbyt fajnie, ale myślę, że to nie jest... No ale cóż, wybrałam, że jednak w tym kościele należy zostać.
Dlaczego Kościół katolicki nie udziela ślubów osobom tej samej płci? Bo to również jest zapisane w Biblii.
I see what the Bible or what Paul writes about gay people, but at the same time we have to know he was living in his time and he had to communicate to people in his time, and I think we have to rethink and reread the Bible on this point, yeah, and let people live together with the one they love and in a marriage. Yeah, we are not allowed to marry men and men or women and women yet, but in the future I think we will be able to do that. You cannot choose not to die. And I believe in a life after death, of course. Today we have a funeral and we go to the grave, to the cemetery. But if they go to the crematoria, do you know the word? Yeah. Crematoria, yeah. Then we will put on You know, we put soil on the coffin, right? So then I will do it inside here. But today we go to the cemetery. Yeah. Jesus talks to his friends the night before he is captured and the night before he dies. He tells them, do not be afraid. I will go somewhere and prepare a place for you, and then I will come back to you and take you with me, and you will be where I am. And he also says, in my Father's house there are many rooms. In the Bible, God is definitely presented most of the time as a man, and we call him he, God is, he is. But we also have some places where God is being compared to a woman. But God is not a human being. God is God, so he doesn't have gender like we have. So I think that's the most important thing you can keep in mind.
I think women should be what they want to be. I don't think gender is something that matters, because you don't decide if you're gonna be born girl or boy.